Department of Community Affairs presents Newsmaker, a weekly broadcast focusing on the people and issues of our time. Your host is Ray Lovato.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Newsmaker. You've probably heard of the infamous Gulag, the Soviet prison camp network. My guest today is a former inmate of the Gulag. His name is Yakov Suslenki, and he recently lectured at St. John Fisher College and is on a 2-month tour of the United States and Canada. Mr. Suslenki, welcome. First of all, let's talk a little bit about why you are in this country.
This year I have my sabbatical, and I devoted 2 months to the cause that I serve. The cause is, it's a kind of an unusual hobby that became the aim of my life, to promote peace between two nations, the Jewish nation and the Ukrainian one.
We should mention right here at the beginning that you were a teacher of English in the Soviet Union, and is one reason why you speak such good English. Tell us something about yourself, why you were imprisoned, when and how long you were in the Gulag.
I was imprisoned in 1970 and spent 7 years in the camps, or as we call them, slave labor camps and prisons of the Soviet Union. The charges were anti-Soviet propaganda and Zionist beliefs.
Can you expand on that for us, please? What exactly were you doing?
What exactly?
Yes.
So my letters that I send to the newspapers, to the Central Committee, the letters of protest against some actions that were in the Soviet Union, that I considered them to be wrong. So I protested usually, and my diaries of some 20 years also were confiscated during the search, and I was charged just because of those things, of those documents that cannot be used as the material for a criminal accused.
Where were you living at the time? What was your family life like?
Now I live in Jerusalem. After I was released in 1977, I came to Israel and got married there, and now I live with my family, have 2 children, 2 little children, because I have 2 grown-up children.
Yes, you are founder of the Association for Jewish-Ukrainian Contacts in Israel. My question was, what was your life like in the Soviet Union when you were imprisoned? Where were you living at the time? What were you doing? Were you teaching English at that time?
I was teaching English, yes, in the town of Benderi. That town is famous now because Ida Nudel lives there, a famous Jewish activist and refusenik. And but that wasn't the time when I got acquainted with the Ukrainians. I got friendly with them during my imprisonment in the camps and the notorious Vladimir prison, not far from Moscow, some 186 kilometers. So we were very friendly, and I owe my life to 2 Ukrainians who saved me while I was serving the term. And when I came to Israel, an idea struck me. If we were friendly and under those terrible conditions, why our nations can't normalize their relationship, their relations? Why the relations between Jews and Ukrainians cannot be friendly and cooperative?
And for the benefit of those who may not understand, the Ukraine is a nation. Ukrainians consider themselves as a people taken under the Soviet umbrella against their will.
Ukrainian is a large, a very big nation of 50 million people. So I hope, I am sure that it will gain its independence. It will be an independent country, early or later, but it will be. And that's why I think that now it is necessary to raise that question even in the Organization of Nations. Yes.
You said that 2 Ukrainians were responsible for saving you. Tell us that story.
It was in 1975. That was my second term in Vladimir prison. The conditions were very harsh there. So, and I was punished many times by staying in a punishment cell where they are different. And one cell it's very hot, so there is no air just to breathe. You can't breathe. In the other cell, it's very cold, from 5 to 10 degrees centigrade. The warm clothes is taken away from you. And that's why only for the night board is brought in with iron stripes on it, so you are lying without a mattress, without a blanket, without anything. You are lying with your body on those, on that board and on those stripes, iron stripes, very cold. So you can't sleep, of course. And once it happened that for 15 days and nights I didn't sleep a minute. Well, when I came out, well, everybody looked at me, and I looked like an insane man. See, I lost my memory completely. I couldn't remember a question of 3 words. Then hallucinations. I could read on a white sheet of paper. I could read something. I couldn't go. I stumbled at every step. And, oh, that was how I looked like. I was taken to the hospital, and all my inmates, my friends, prison friends, they considered myself to be insane quite. Well, luckily it wasn't, and in a short period of time I felt better, and but I couldn't move, and those 2 Ukrainians with whom I was in the cell, they took me out into the walking yard so that I could breathe for half an hour fresh air, and then they just carried me back, climbing on the 3rd story, and they were weak, and we were hungry there, and they were sick also. They had a heart attack, but nevertheless, though I told them, well, just save yourself, because I am a lost man, so don't take care of me. But all the time they took me down and up, and that's why I can say that I owe my life to those 2 Ukrainians, Zinovy Antoniuk and Grigory Prichodko. I want to name them here.
We're talking with Yakov Suslenki, a former inmate of the Soviet Gulag. Back in a moment.
Place to be to see videos of the century.
MTV Top 20.
Top 20. Top 20 video countdown.
All your big-time favorite videos and the stars who made them.
So if you want to play dress up, play it big time, baby.
On the MTV Top 20 Video Countdown. MTV Countdown, Saturdays at 12:30 a.m.
Lauer's Furniture in the Pittsford Place Mall celebrates Thanksgiving weekend with a store-wide furniture and carpet sales spectacular. Shop now through Sunday. thousands of quality furniture and carpet items have been drastically reduced. Living rooms, dining rooms, bedrooms, and occasional furniture at holiday savings of 20 to 70%. All in stock for immediate free delivery. Lauer's Thanksgiving Weekend Sale Spectacular. Lauer's, Monroe Avenue, across from Pittsford Plaza.
If you're shopping for a new home, selling your current home, or just interested in Rochester's real estate market, be sure to tune in to the Greater Rochester Television Home Finders Guide every Sunday morning at 10:30.
My guest is Yakov Suslenki. He is from Israel, a Soviet emigre who was an inmate in the Soviet Gulag. He is founder of the Association for Jewish-Ukrainian Contacts in Israel, and he is now touring the United States and Canada telling his story. What you described the conditions that you were subjected to, not all, I'm sure, in prison, in Soviet prisons. But what are they like? You say harsh, but are they designed to kill people?
Generally, yes. Though the Soviet authorities don't want the political prisoners to die there, because they know that there is reaction in the West, and that's why they don't want them to get insane and to die. Nevertheless, there are instances when many political prisoners die. Only not long ago, 4 Ukrainian political prisoners died. One of them committed suicide. The famous Ukrainian poet Stus, Vasil Stus, I think he is the best among the contemporary Ukrainian poets. He died, a young man yet. Well, and there are many other instances when political prisoners die. What is interesting to mention here is that the Soviet authorities say they deny the existence of political prisoners in the Soviet Union. And there are no special law for them, no special status for them. In 1975, I was the initiator of a campaign among the political prisoners, a kind of a movement among the political prisoners for officially recognition us as political prisoners. We demanded that recognition, and we demanded a special status for political prisoners. Of course, we were refused, but we decided not to give up, and we made up our own status, our own code of 24 points. The authors of that code were famous, outstanding political prisoner Vladimir Bukovsky, now living in the United States, Kranid Lubarsky, a very interesting man and political activist, now living in Munich.
What was the
others.
purpose?
Yes.
What was the purpose of this code?
The purpose was we put down all the points that we consider to be used for political prisoners. Yes. And we send it to the Supreme Soviet, to the official organ of the Soviet power, to acknowledge that and to issue a special law for political prisoners. If they refuse, we wrote in our applications, we shall do whatever we can under those conditions. So we refused to work. We refused to wear labels here with our names, with the number of the brigade we had to work, and so on. So we refused to speak the language, the Russian language. Everybody spoke his own language, because Russian language is official there, and if you address in any other language, you are not answered. So we refused. We refused to greet by standing up the authorities, the prison authorities, the camp authorities. So we refused to do if it was in our power. We couldn't, for instance, get there additional food or a doctor from abroad or a lawyer from abroad. That was, all those was also included in our code. But we couldn't get there or receive letters or write letters as many as we wanted. So we were allowed only to write one letter a month only to close relatives and to nowhere, to nobody else. That's, and we were punished for that. We were punished. 66 prisoners were sent from the camps to the prison. Prison is considered to be, well, a harsh punishment there. Yes, it is. There are 4 regimes of keeping prisoners. There is just the first regime, general, scold. Second is harsher, strict regime, and particularly strict regime. And the harsher, the most harsh of all of them is prison. Because in prison, you live in a cell, you are kept in a cell with 1 or with 2 other prisoners for a long period of time. It's very difficult. Even political prisoners, well, had to quarrel among themselves and even just to fight one another. That's
in the Gulag. How are the dead buried?
Oh, that's a terrible thing. The body, the relatives are not allowed to take the body. Yes, they are buried in a special cemetery not far from the camp or from the prison, and it's forbidden even to put his name, the name of the dead prisoner. Yes,
on the marker. On the marker.
On the marker. Yes, there is such a.
It's a number.
Short board. Yes, only number and the letter of the row. And when relatives come, they had to address the camp authorities in order to find out where their relative lies.
How many of the dissidents are Jews?
When I was in prison, there were about 80, 90 Jewish prisoners there, scattered in some 5 camps and 2 prisons.
What would be the percentage, then, of the dissidents, for example, who are also Jews?
The percentage of the prisoners?
Yes.
I think, well, it's only some 2-3%.
Are the political dissidents themselves mostly Jewish?
No.
Soviet citizens?
No, of course not. Yes.
I think that's the impression that many Americans have.
I think that the majority of political prisoners consists of Ukrainian political prisoners.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because the Ukrainians are most persistent in their wish to gain independence. And that's why they are, in my opinion, they are heroes of the highest grade, because they don't, nowadays, they don't have any narrow, you see, perspective. They cannot rely on or think of success or of something, and nevertheless, they are still fighting. They are still struggling in so that to show their people that their will not be crushed by the Soviets.
History is well documented by the millions of deaths under Stalin in the Ukraine, and I'm sure I'm oversimplifying it, but he wanted to show the Ukrainian farmers and the peasants, who were generally happy with their existence as it was, bring them under the Soviet farm plan.
Collectivization.
And they resisted. And it was years of oppression, forced starvation. And many Americans don't know about that. But it is indigenous to the Ukrainian people to stand up for what they believe in,
Yes.
to resist the Soviets.
The Ukrainian people really suffered a lot, beginning from 1917, from the day of the of the Communist Revolution, and up to nowadays. Well, there was a terrible hunger in 1921-22 that carried away about 3 million Ukrainian lives. And the other, but well, it was also artificial because of the revolution. Yes, the revolution was artificial itself in the Soviet Union. But
Stalin wanted to break the Ukrainians'
yes,
will.
but that was later. That was 10 years later, in 1932-33.
What you're saying, though, is that no one has succeeded yet in doing that.
Of course. So Stalin wanted to break them. The Ukrainian soil is very good, and they got the harvest of grain was very rich, and Ukraine was the place from where nearly all the Europe got grain during many years. And Stalin understood that that is the only way to break them down and to make them join the collective farms and to fulfill his plan of collectivization.
What makes you so optimistic that someday the Ukraine will be separate from the Soviet Union?
I think that a nation of 50 million people someday will gain its independence. We know examples that nations of 100,000 people are independent, so Ukraine must be more than that. When I was in prison, I saw many nationalists of different nations that live in the Soviet Union. Armenian, the Baltic nations, and the whole national movement in the Soviet Union is a sign that they will gain their independence, and every Soviet republic will be an independent country.
It's ironic that it is the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, but
Yes.
that's another program. We have to take a short break, but we will be coming back, so stay with us.
Hawaii, a tropical paradise. It's just one of the coasts we guard. You could help. Talk to a Coast Guard recruiter or call toll-free.
Sold out in England. Sold out in Canada. Sold out in Australia. Now, you can see the multi-million-dollar production that has left the critics lost for words. The breathtaking magic of Jane Torval and Christopher Dean. Fire on Ice. Genius in action. Torval and Dean. Don't miss this limited engagement.
Wednesday, December 3rd at 7:30 at the War Memorial. Tickets available at the War Memorial and Ticketron.
Your Monroe County Chevy dealers asked the factory to be one of the first to get shipments of 87 S10 pickups. The factory said, okay, but you've got 30 days to move them. That's why Truck Blitz 87 is going on right now with prices as low as $65.95 for the S10 EL. These shipments direct to your Monroe County Chevy dealers are priced to sell now. They must be gone in 30 days. We've got them. Now you get one during Truck Blitz 87 at your Monroe County Chevy dealers.
Recently, in the news in Rochester, Rima Brava, a Soviet woman who was dying of ovarian cancer, was given a visa or will be given a visa, in other words, granted permission to leave the Soviet Union to join her family here in Brighton. There was strong pressure on many fronts, including the U.S. government and those in it. Why did the Soviets, why are they giving this piecemeal, one here, one there?
Yes, from time to time they do such noble actions. I think not because of the nature of the system, but because of the pressure that comes from abroad. And that's why I fully support the idea of Anatoly Sharansky, who insists that 99% of the pressure should be made, of the influence on the Soviet authorities should be made by pressure coming from the Western countries in different fields, and only 1% should be done in the way of quiet diplomacy.
How did you get out of the Soviet Union?
After I served my term of 7 years, after I was released, for 5 months the KGB didn't want to let me out, finding, well, some reasons for that. But then I received my visa. It was because I was lucky to be released up to 1979. After 1979, the situation radically...
they closed the doors.
Closed the doors, yes, and now many of my friends, like Slipak family, Ida Nudel and others, who already have served their terms, but nevertheless, they are still kept in the Soviet Union.
Very briefly, we have 30 seconds. Are you optimistic about Mr. Gorbachev and his dealings with the West or not?
I think that he will do something in this field, in this respect. But he is forced to do it because his class is now in danger, and he has to save it.
Yakov Suslenki, thank you very much for being our guest. The founder of the Association for Jewish-Ukrainian Contacts, now off to Chicago and many other U.S. cities. We thank you for joining us. I'm Ray Lovato saying that's Newsmaker for today. Tune in again next week for another show.